Welcome to this flash tutorial. It's titled Keypad Password. It's going to allow you to enter in a password using a keypad we're going to make on the stage, and once you have the correct password you can move on into the game or whatever your passwording. Going to open a new FLA, ActionScript 3, and I'm keeping my default 550, 400, 24 frames per second, white background. Call this layer buttons, buttons, and pick up your rectangle tool. I want no stroke, and I want a red fill. Holding the shift down, make a square and highlight it. Open the properties panel and let's make it 40 by 40. Let's make sure these are the same. They should be because it's a square. Lock this here keychain, this link, and make it 40, and when I do this both the height and the width will change. We're going to, while it's highlighted, modify it, convert it to a symbol. Make sure a button is selected. It's going to be called key, K-E-Y, shift underscore BTN, and copy that. OK, and paste it in for an instance name. Double click on it. Now we're inside that button. Call this RD as in red, BG as in background, red background. Lock that layer. Over, insert keyframe. Down, insert keyframe. So I have this button on all three stages of my button. Insert layer. Call this the over layer, OV. Insert a keyframe or a blank keyframe here. And when we pass over it, we want something to change. So what we'll do is when we pass over it, we want to add a square to it. So what we do is we come down here, change the color of this to a grayish color. Again, no stroke, rectangle tool. Make a small rectangle with my shift down, highlight it, open the properties panel, make sure it's locked, and 35 is a good size for this, and highlight it and drag it over here, roughly centered, so when we go over it that jumps up. Make this a keyframe, insert keyframe here, so I have that same gray thing here. But now what I want this gray thing to do is when I click it down to get bigger. So open the properties panel, whoops, highlight it, open the properties panel, and let's make it about 50. So therefore, and make sure that change locked, and let's center that. So there's what we see. We go over it, goes to there, and then when I click it, it does that. That's what I'm having take place. Go back to scene 1. There's one button. Right click, copy that. Right click, paste in place. Using my arrow keys, I'm just going to go over. Just make them touch. Right click, paste in place. Over just till they touch. Close enough. Copy 3 of them. Right click, copy, paste in place, come down. I'm not going to spend a lot of time with this. You can right click, paste in place again, and there I have 9 buttons. But now let's look at this one first. See it? right there, that's the button. Open the properties panel, key 1, put a 1 there. Click this one, key 2, this one, key 3. Now if you've got a better way of doing this, go right ahead. This one, key 4, here, 5, 6. I should have made one more here. 7. 8. 9. Now I might be able to get away with pasting in place here again. Paste in place. Arrow key these ones down. But naturally I got to change the instance name because I already gave these an instance name. I don't know. I want to get down a little bit past and bring it back up. Good. This one is going to have no key, no name. It's just a blank button. This is going to be my 0 one. Key button 0. And this one is going to be enter. Okay, so I have those buttons. And if this one, you can take this one and delete it if you want, but I'm going to leave it there. Okay, now each of these buttons, if I check one of them, is 40 by 40. So lock that layer, insert a layer, put numbers, N-U-M, like numbers. Pick up your text tool, pick up your stroke, or your black here for your fill. I think the numbers are on the fill. And make a number. Open the properties panel. Make sure it's classic text, static text, Times New Roman. Let's embed it. Embed. Upper, lower, numerals, punctuations. Okay. We want to make these text about, we know these are 40 high. So here where the point size, make sure it's less than 40. I'm going to make it 35. And that's okay. And there's number 1, number 2, number 3, 9, 0. And I'm just eyeing these up. I could put a grid on here, but I'm just going to eye them up. 1, 2, 8, 9, and 0. And pick up my text tool again. Open the properties panel. Make this point size like 10 and enter. E-N-T, I'll put all caps. E-N-T-E-R. Enter. Selection tool and drag that into this box here. So now let's just look at this for a minute. Control, test movie, test. If I go over, it does that, and when I press it, it gets big. So there's no doubt. Now, if you want to fancy this up, you could put lines between them. Lock that layer. Insert a new layer. Call it AS, Action Script. Select frame 1. Open the action panel. Now I'm going to write the bulk of the action script and explain it to you as we go along. Type, 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 type. Stop, open, close bracket, semicolon. And we're making a bunch of variables. VAR, small v turns purple, count equals 1 semicolon. Copy that, paste it in, change it to 3 count, THREECNT equals 0 semicolon. Copy that, paste it in, make it 6 count, paste it in again, make it 4 count, paste it again, make it 9 count, paste it again, make it other count, and paste it again, make it tot count, that is in total, and make it equal to 1111. Before we make any more code, we have to decide what password we're going to use. Back to the timeline. Select the actions layer, insert a layer, call it code or password, C-O-D-E, code, and pick up your text tool, and it doesn't matter anything, what color or anything, or what size, and we're going to use the code 3649, and I'm only putting it here so I can see it, and I'm going to make that relatively large. There. So that's the code, so we can work with that. Back to the actions layer, and type this code. Key 3, that's the first letter of our code. Key 3 underscore BTN, period. Add event listener. Small a, capital E, capital L turns blue. Open bracket, mouse event, capital M, capital E, that turns blue, period. Click all uppercase, C-L-I-C-K, comma, and I'm calling this .1. Just give it a name, close bracket, semicolon, and we're calling this function up. Function, turns purple if it's spelt right, .1, open bracket, event, small e, V-E-N-T, colon, mouse event. You can copy this mouse event and paste it in, close bracket, colon, void. Void's the same color as function. There's an open curly bracket for that function. Now we're saying if open bracket count equals 1, close bracket, and counts this variable we made up here, which is 1, so this is true, so this is going to happen. Open curly bracket for the if statement. Because we're in here and we want to increment, we say count equals count plus 1, semicolon, and at the same time we want to keep track to make sure that the number 3 button has been pressed, so 3 count equals 1, semicolon, and that's this 3 count variable we made. We're going to do something else, but I got that blocked out, and to see if this format works, we're going to trace, T-R-A-C-E, turns blue, open bracket count, close bracket, semicolon, and there's the close curly bracket for the if. This if. If this is not true when I press the button, that means we pressed it later on in the sequence. Else, E-L-S-E, turns purple if it's spelt right, open curly bracket. We still want to increment. Count equals count plus 1, semicolon. Again, this is something we're going to use later on. There's the closed curly bracket for the else, and there's the closed curly bracket for the function. So this should mean when I test it, control, test, movie, test, the first thing I want to see is no errors. That's good. If I press the 3, it counts 2. Why? It counts 2 because it was 1. Because it was up here, count was 1, which allowed me to come into here, and I added 1, and that made it 2. So that format works. Now we're going to take and copy this and replace some things. Let's go up to where we get this button here. Click on this, drag it down, right click, copy that. That's all the information for button 3. Put a few enters, paste. Now we're doing my button 6, which is the second one on my list. So this will be key 6. Make that a 6. This becomes dot 2. This becomes dot 2. This is now, count will now be equal to 2, meaning it's a second bit. This stays the same. And instead of count 3 here, instead of 3 count, I need 6 count, S-I-X, and this time I'm going to add 10. This stays the same, this stays the same. So now let's see if that works. Control, test movie test. We're going to get them right. There's 3, and I trace 2. There's 6, and I trace 3. Okay, back to the action code. We should be able to put a few more enters and paste in the code for number 4 button. This 3 becomes a 4. This becomes dot. This should have been dot 3 based on the sequence that I was using, but I made a mistake and typed in 4, as you can see, so I'm going to be using this as dot 4. If count is equal to, I believe, 3. This one here was 2. Yeah, this one's 3. This stays the same, and now instead of 3, we're doing 4 count. Six count, 4 count. Yep. FOUR count. And in this one here, I want to be 100. This stays the same. This stays the same. Let's try that. Control, test movie test. I got 3, and there's my 2. I got 6, I'm up to 3. I got 4, I'm up to 4. And we got one more to do for the true test. Down the bottom, a couple of enters, paste it in. This is for button 9. And this one, instead of dot 4, this is dot 5. Dot 5. And this is going to be 9 count. And this is going to be 1,000. Okay, let's see if that works. Test movie, test. 3, and I got my count right. 6, my count right. 4, and 9. Something didn't work on the 9 count. So let's see why that didn't work. Oh, right here. I got to make this equal to 4 button. This got to be if count equals 4. Of course. Control, test movie, test. You probably got that all right. Okay, 3 takes me to count 2, 6 to count 3, 4 to count 4, and 9 to count 5. So the correct code part works. I think that's enough for this tutorial. There's going to be a follow-up. It'll be keypad password part 2. If you plan on doing that, make sure you save this FLA.